أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر
لا إله إلا الله
اللهم رب هذه الدعوة أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. In the name of Allah, the gracious, the merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the universe, the master of the day of judgment. I bear witness and testimony to the oneness of Allah, to His magnificence, His omnipotence, His might, His glory, to His being the creator and sustainer of all things, the giver of life, the guider of hearts, the master of the day of judgment. And I bear witness to the fact that Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and final messenger. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him and upon all those who choose to tread in his path until the last day. In this last week, one of the things that we have reached in our experience traversing this world is that much more proximity to the coming month of Ramadan. May Allah enable us to reach it and take benefit from it. And quite often we get to a place where the realities of what it is that's forthcoming are not things that necessarily resonate until moments before something is upon us. But in a world where our sisters and brothers in Sudan are still going through such difficulty, may Allah grant them ease and end the violence and conflict that is taking place there. We see the realities of Syria continue to ensue. May Allah grant them ease and make them in a place where they are given the peace that they long for. The Rohingya, the Uyghurs, what we see in the West Bank and Gaza, throughout Palestine, so much of what it is that gives to us a sense of unrest and difficulty, that is such a state of agitation that we actually have now become, many of us, numb to it. You got to start prepping for what is forthcoming, a gift that is Ramadan, so that we can come back to being in a place where what it offers to us in terms of increase, we harness and move forward solidified the way that we are meant to as people of Iman. Intentionality cannot be something that I look at it now through a prism of selfishness, which an egocentric society that is rooted in anti-blackness builds within us as a mindset. Whether you want to admit it or not, it's not an Islamic concept that says my religion is a personal endeavor. It's my business how it is that I relate to my practice and my faith and my choices and my decisions. That's not something that stems from the sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's something that stems from whiteness. That it's just about me at the center, and whether I wake up to pray Fajr or not, that's my decision. No, our religion teaches us that your Fajr is for all of us, not just you. That your character, your choices, your decisions, your pursuit of a higher level of akhlaq, your sense of how it is that you be and exist in this world is not simply so that you have a simplistic understanding of accountability rooted in selfishness. Selfishness is not a hallmark characteristic of the Sunnah. Selflessness is. How it is that I have consideration and generosity, ithar. I'm a person who recognizes that there are other around me, and that what I do and do not do bears impact back to me as well as to others. My intentionality cannot be something that is rooted simply in an egocentricity that's a modern day shirk that has me believe everything circulates around me and I'm at the center of it all. And why we want to start thinking about it? Because the world is that much heavier than it was a year ago. And if you only started thinking about preparation through spiritual exercise that's meant to be something that gives us reinforcement and stability inwardly so that we know better how it is with consciousness, how to act outwardly, then more prep time is going to get me to a better state when I'm meeting that first day, if Allah decrees that I'm amongst those who is meant to see it. May Allah make it so. And each one of us has to think about it bigger than ourselves in this coming year. There's a chapter in the Quran that's called Surah As-Saf, the 61st chapter of the Quran. And in its 4th verse, Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells us about a group of people that He loves. In Allah yuhibbu alladhina yuqatiluna fi sabilihi, He says, that Allah loves those who fight in His way, but He qualifies it by saying safa, that those who fight in His way in ranks, meaning they have discipline. They're not individuals that are just going and doing whatever it is that individually they desire to do. But they understand that there's a sense of order and discipline, structure to how it is that they unify together in ranks. It's embedded within our tradition. 5 times a day, you should be standing in prayer with others congregationally. Ideally, we try our best. We live in a part of the world that it doesn't function around our religious ideals. May Allah make it easy for us. And it's an achievement that you should be proud of, the capacity that on the day of Jummah, you come and you stand with 800-900 people here in this space. But we stand, the rows are supposed to be straight. It's an aspect of discipline. One person stands off purposely or says it doesn't make a difference to me, then you're thinking only about yourself, not the collective. And in this verse in Surah Al-Saf, Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about them qualitatively as people who are in ranks, disciplined in rows. And then he qualifies it even more, كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصًا. That it is like, they're like a concrete building, solidified. It's like a wall, you can't break it down. That's how we're supposed to be standing side by side with one another. Hadith that tell us that we're like a building and each brick reinforces one another. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصٌ. That you are like a building that is made concrete. For that building to be made concrete in such a way in an Islamic Arabia 14 centuries ago was not something that was a product just of an hour's worth of work. But if you were to put up an edifice that was that strong that bricks reinforced one another in such a manner that nothing could bring that wall down no matter what, you had to put in a lot of effort to build something that was that solidified and cohesive. People had to come together in a way that was not just for moments. It wasn't just an hour a week on a Friday where your mind was distracted by where it is you're going to go next. But you had to put in more than just moments. You had to put in weeks, months, years. And this is what they did. The first few years of prophetic revelation were done in secrecy, and they built a cohesion amongst themselves, going again and again together. People of all races, all ethnicities, all classes, coming together on a shared belief structure that reinforced for themselves inwardly a bond that allowed for them to stand disciplined. And it's not meant to be a criticism, but 14 centuries later, where the discipline has gone down, it is directly related to the fact that I don't share a bond with the person next to me based off of what I have inside. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصًا. That you are a building that is reinforced. That's what it is that Allah loves. And for the brick that's at the bottom of the wall to only want to be connected to the brick that is feet away from it, that's not how it's going to work. If I'm at the top or at the bottom of it, the strength of my connection to one that is miles away is not going to be that it bears impact from me reinforcing it. But it's how I connect to the ones that are around me. And if I'm not strong with the bricks that are around me, the one that's at the top that I only want to be connected to, that one's going to crumble. Not because I don't want it to be solidified, but I'm not willing to connect to the ones that are next to me. Your heart can bleed for the people that you share culture with. Nobody's saying that it shouldn't. People that you share sociological identity variables with, familiarity and similarity, reinforcing what it is that brings you together, that's fine. But if you're only seeking to be connected to people that you share that with, and they are at a distance from you, and it's preventing you from building relationships with the people that you are literally sitting next to right now, who don't share race with you, who don't share ethnicity with you, who don't have as much money as you do, then you are not that concrete building that Allah is telling us about. That is the likeness of these people who, when they move as one unit. They go in one direction. They are in such a mode that there is discipline because their hearts are connected. And if the hearts are connected, the bodies will be in unison. As you anticipate what's going to get in the way, and how we have to think as a community seated here about the things that we have capacity to achieve. You know, last Ramadan, may Allah increase us, this community had 6 different campaigns for charitable initiatives. Our sisters and brothers who had severe medical needs in Gaza, people in the Ida camp in the West Bank, people in Sudan, local families in need here in New York City, migrants who were shipped here living in the streets who needed food for suhoor and iftar, and survivors of domestic violence, let alone indirect campaigns where we were evacuating people from Sudan and Gaza that we didn't even include in numbers. But just in those 6, we had raised $4.7 million from 48,000 unique donors. What does it tell you about capacity and potential? That when you come together as a collective, your ability to bear positive impact on those that the world has forgotten is not something you can undermine. But when you can take that as a reality of what is possible of being able to achieve, and not just any handful of us, but hundreds of us that gather together here, light a fire within ourselves and say that we start to convene with more deliberation and strategy, that if that's the potential that comes from us engaging in things that in large part take place virtually 1 month out of the year, what could happen if we were coming together more deliberately and strategically across all of our talents and skills? What kind of beauty could we build, man? And why do you want to pit it in Ramadan? Because you know you're more disciplined in Ramadan than the rest of the year. You know it. The individual goals that you set for yourself, I want to scroll less and listen to this less and listen to this more. I'm going to take on this habit and try to build this thing inside of me. I am reading Quran. I am going to pray at the masjid at the night. I'm not eating or drinking anything during the day, where I don't have the ability to fast, but I still have contentment with Allah's decree, disciplining of my inner self. My consciousness is something that I want to awaken in such a way that I start to now think about it deliberately. And if I can't bring an intentionality of my own benefit to it, I think about love in a different way. And how I have to start to have deliberate maturation of my spiritual self. So I'm not just bogged down and made purposely exhausted and tired by systems of inequity and oppression that seek to have me feel momentary complacency just from the acquisition of something that is temporary and materialistic. But I want to be a person of long-term contentment. I want to be a person of real rida. I want to be a person of Jannah. May Allah make us all people of Jannah. This verse is an important part of this. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصًا. Do you want to be the loose brick that's making a mess of it all? Because your focus is not on the bricks that you are surrounded by, that you play a role in reinforcing. But you're only thinking about the brick that is feet, yards, miles away from you, and you've forgotten about how what we do here together is going to impact what it is that happens elsewhere. Purpose in and of itself is not limited to, quite often, what we equate it to be from a religious standpoint. But I can tell you definitively that our book, as it gives us many reasons for purpose, one of the reasons that it does not say we were created for was to be selfish and undisciplined. And as I start to piece together a reflective mode of what it is that I want to take from what is months ahead of me, but that's the foresight and intuition that a person of Iman is supposed to have. How does this day that is in what is temporary impact what is eternal and everlasting? And your nafs and shaitan and dunya and hawa, they're going to get in the way to make you say, I got time to start thinking about it a week from now, a month from now. No, man, you start fasting now and you save more money by not spending all kinds of stuff on meals that you don't need to eat, and it starts to detox and wean yourself from this, you'll have more money to give to people who have no food to eat at all. كأنهم بنيان مرصوصة. You're supposed to be a concrete building. That's who Allah loves. You start to think about it in a mode that is about, well, what gets in the way that makes it difficult, so that lessons are not things that are fleeting, but things that I actually draw upon, and they inform my decisions of today, what I learned about myself some months ago. You could go back to March and April of this year, which is where we experienced Ramadan together, breaking fast in this room. Where do you stand in relation today from what you learned of yourself in those days? What have you left behind, and what is it that you can implement? You just got to bring the will and the desire to do it. People surround us all the time that give us exemplary understandings of what it means to discipline the nafs. You're not supposed to control the nafs, you're supposed to discipline the nafs. As the rest of your body grows, it needs deliberate attention towards it. So it's not matters of convenience and comfort that then bring me to certain things. I do it even when I don't feel like doing it, because I know there's still benefit in it, and my body is not going to be what it is that I submit myself to. I'm in a place where I discipline this thing. And the little things that we pass up on all the time. Because everybody else does not do it, then I don't seek to do it. Start reading your Quran from today and understanding it, reflecting on it. So when you get to Ramadan, it's not the first time you're opening the Mus'haf. If you have the ability to fast, the days are at their shortest right now. They're going to start getting longer again by minutes, but this is when you should be fasting, not just makeup fast, but a regular fast. Anybody who's serious about their spiritual diet in our tradition that had the means to fast, they would do so with regularity. And if you bring the idea that we're bricks that reinforce one another, and you have a deep love for the people who are facing all kinds of pain in the world right now, do not equate power just to political power. It is a disease of the heart that is a desire for power, but our challenge is not even about the desire to have power. Most of us just want to be close to power, and you have the ability to be close to power all the time. Allah is the source of all power. That vantage point is about the discipline of the inward. And I ask myself, not rhetorically, but reflectively, if I have the ability to do it, and the implementation of that fast, it renders لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, like consciousness, wakefulness, why am I not doing it? And who is it that benefits from me not doing the things that I have the ability to do? And if you look at this same chapter, 61 of the Quran, this verse that we're looking at, its fourth verse, go 2 verses before it, and Allah asks the question, لِمَا تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ, then why do you say that which you do not do? So I know I'm different when I'm fasting, but if you know it, then why don't you act upon it? And understanding and reflecting in these days, through an intention that says that we bear impact on what everyone else has going on around us. I'm not the center of it all, but I'm still a critical piece in an entire edifice that its strength at its foundation or at any level is going to come from how it is that I reinforce my connections with those that are around me. Do you know the name of the person you're going to pray next to today? I don't want us to build a masjid the way other masjids function. I'm 42 years old. There's communities that I've visited over the last 20 years that I've served this community, and the same people, mashallah, are praying in the front rows of those masjids. Many of them much older than me. No disrespect to them, but I'll ask them, you've prayed here for 30, 40 years, almost every day of your life. Do you know the name of the person praying next to you or behind you? The person you pray behind, have you ever invited them to your home? That's not what's going to allow for us to thrive to its capacity. And if you can tell me you don't know the name of the person sitting next to you, and we still raised $5 million from 50,000 people last Ramadan, what do you think we could do together if all of us started to know the rest of us? What do you think? What do you think would happen if we didn't just size each other up and down and say, well, I can't be in company with you indirectly or directly, consciously or unconsciously? We start to see more so how we create that cohesiveness. Are we going to have the ability to stamp out hunger? No. Allah knows best. But there'll be that many more people that we can play a role ensuring that they have some food, right? The weather is getting colder and colder. May Allah make it easy. We might not be in a place where we can get every single person some kind of blanket or sleeping bag as they sleep on the streets. The same migrants that we collected clothes for last winter, they still need stuff this winter. You think their kids stopped growing in the last year? And the jackets and shoes and boots that we got for them just gonna fit for them for the rest of their life? No, their kids grow the same way your kids grow. An undisciplined nafs is a hallmark characteristic of shaitan's strategy to have us tiptoe when we could be taking massive strides. To desire complacency and feel joy that is unhealthy, not healthy in the prism of achievement and success that says, I did this today, so there's no reason for me to do tomorrow. No, you take what you did today and you ask Allah that let me live even better tomorrow. And as we are less than 90 days away from Ramadan, and every single day you're hearing about somebody being attacked and somebody being killed and somebody having this or that happen to them. Forget about everybody else. You be the person that creates that light that now starts to become contagious, that we become the way Allah is telling us, a building that is reinforced in concrete. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الَّذِينَ يُقَاتِلُونَ فِي سَبِيلِهِ صَفًّا. That Allah loves those who fight in His way together in ranks ordered. كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصًا. Like they are a building that is concrete. Nothing is going to knock it down. When people aspire towards achievements that are outwards, we want to strengthen each one of our individual resolve. Because if on this side of the room and that side of the room, there's scattered people of taqwa, what kind of force do you think could be unleashed if each one of us was from the muttaqeen? May Allah make it so. Each one of us was a person of wakefulness, a person of consciousness. So I would invite you, just simple steps. When we are lining up to pray, make the row straight. It is a big deal. But also take a moment to know who it is you're praying next to. The hearts become connected. We build a sense of strength together. And inshallah ta'ala, what we will then be able to achieve together will be that much more magnificent. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله تعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. Over the course of the next 90 days, every day just think about, with a tangible goal in front of you, what state do you want to be in when you meet that first blessed day of Ramadan? What's going to get in the way that's going to push you steps backwards? What's going to get in the way that is your insecurity, your vulnerability? We all have them. May Allah protect us from it. And that reinforcement that we play a role to the other, that when somebody is down, we don't elevate ourselves by pushing them down further, but we're there to help them get back up on their feet. The paradigm of gatherings of the divine are distinct from gatherings that are human, in that Allah's gatherings are based off of principles of inclusivity, not exclusivity. You're going to have people of all different walks of life, ideally, that are able to enter into Allah's house, because Allah does not have a conditionalized love for who it is that He gives proximity to Him. But you got to remember that if any two of us had a conversation in this room, it would still be two sinners talking to each other. That includes any one of us. If I can assess my state, leave behind titles and credentials and degrees that are constructed only to give false senses of hierarchical understandings that just stratify us in ways that the ego is in control. Just for a moment, let your heart be what it is that you listen to. And through your heart today, think about, hey, I'm praying next to my brother. I'm praying next to my sister. I'm praying with a group of people that 3 months from now, we're going to try our best to save as many lives as we possibly can through our efforts. The people that I'm sitting rows away from, we're part of that building. That where others might be thinking about themselves, we're going to try our best to own up to the reputation of being a generous community, and we're going to continue to strive to be there for others. But you have to want that. Go read this verse, the 61st chapter of the Quran, its 4th verse. And then reflect and make dua that, Ya Allah, make me from amongst those that you love the way you love these people in this verse. And let yourself feel that love, because it can give you courage. I don't want to be an adult body with a child nafs living in me anymore. I want to wean myself off of my simple wants, and I want to actually fulfill my needs. What all of us need, man, is Jannah. That's what we need. That's it. You don't need a lot of the stuff that you think you do. You don't need it. You might want it, but that doesn't mean that you need it. Just think about it in these days and how it'll then create more room for us to reinforce and become more concrete. And it's not just an empty thing. What's going to get in the way is your nafs. It's going to tell you, it's awkward for me to ask the person next to me what their name is. But you discipline the nafs by not giving into it, and you let your heart come forward and say, I want to love the way the Prophet tells me. My faith is conditional upon having that love for people. How can you love somebody you don't know? How can you build with people that you don't even know who they are? You're not here just to get your degree and to graduate and go make your money. You're not here just to fulfill an obligation and then go back to your office and make your own money. You're not here just for me, 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 me. When all of us are together, we're much stronger than when we are separate from one another. Bring that into the intention of how you prep for this coming month of Ramadan. Inshallah ta'ala, Allah Azza wa Jal will make this community that is strong and concrete like that building that can never be knocked down. Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad fil awwalina wa fil akhirin. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا. يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين. We begin this supplication in your name, Ya Allah, and beseech you to send your choicest salutations upon your most beloved, sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wasallam. We ask that you shower your infinite mercy upon this gathering, granting each and every one who is present herein and our loved ones only the best in this world and the best in the next. We ask, Ya Allah, that if all of us are meant to be together only at this time, at this place, whether we are young or old, male or female, regardless of our race, our ethnicity, our social class, our country of origin, our cultural heritage, whether we are Muslim or come from a different walk of life, Ya Rabbi, if our individual hearts are meant to be in the presence of all other hearts that are gathered here, only at this time, at this place, then gather us all together again in the best of places in the world beyond this one. Increase us, Ya Allah, in all that is good. Increase us in courage, compassion, and confidence. Protect us from affliction, anxiety, and anguish. Remove from our hearts any feelings of bitterness, jealousy, animosity, or envy towards any of your creation. Grant us hearts that are filled with understanding and hope. Hearts that are drawn towards things of real goodness and beauty. Hearts that find themselves deep in your remembrance, for indeed in your remembrance do hearts find rest. Make us, Ya Allah, from amongst those believers who are connected at the level of our hearts. Make us not simply those who are connected at the level of shared externals, shared race, shared ethnicity, shared class, but make this community a community that is connected at the level of shared values, shared hearts. Help us to build a deep love for one another and to strengthen us through that love. And through the building of that love, Ya Allah, help us to go out and build for others that the world has forgotten. Make us those who utilize these days ahead of us to prep not just for the coming month of Ramadan, but for what is inevitably a hereafter that we will all experience. Ya Allah, make us people of your Jannah. Remove from our pathways anything that distracts us. And let every one of our steps forward be a step of remembrance, not a step of forgetfulness, a recognition that we will not end our journey until we reach our place of ultimate destination. Ya Allah, make us from the people of your Jannah. And put into us a deep sense of consciousness and wakefulness, that as the world around us gets heavier and darker, that we are not scared to share our light and luminosity. Make us, Ya Allah, the reason people have hope in this world, and never the reason that people might dread it. Protect us always from hearts that are not humble, tongues that are not wise, and eyes that have forgotten how to cry. Forgive us for our shortcomings and guide and bless us all. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وأقيموا الصلاة. Okay, there's a lot of room in the back for the Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. And take a moment just to make sure the rows are straight.
الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أحوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الله أكبر. استغفر الله. استغفر الله.
For those who are able to stick around, we'll make a Jummah for Asr here in 5 minutes when Asr comes in. So feel free to pray your sunnahs in between, and then when Asr comes in, we'll go on Jummah here. The sadaqah from today is going to be going to IC, so please do be generous with whatever you can give. Inshallah, it will help us to continue to put on the programs and events that we do. All of our operations are going. Community support, so whatever you can give, inshallah, is appreciated. But we'll call the adhan in about 4 or 5 minutes for Asr.